The PS5 Pro was finally announced today on September 10th to come out on November 7th, and the pre-orders begin at 26. So PS5 Pro finally came out, and guess what the price point is? MSRP is going to be $700 USD. Let's talk about it a little bit because I want to, get into it, the specs and what the PS5 Pro promises to be able to do. And I'm going to talk about why everything they're advertising is nothing new, at least to PC gamers, and why 120 FPS is actually overrated, or at least, at the very least, not a reality that most people are going to be able to do yet. So with the PS5 Pro, it promises that it has an upgraded GPU, advanced ray tracing, and AI driven upscaling, and that's upscaling. The technology is called PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution. At $700, you do not get a kickstand or a disk drive. Let that be known right now. You do not get a disk drive. You have to buy that separately, and even then, that separate disk drive will literally become e-waste once the servers go offline for this console in the future. When eventually this console does shut off in its servers, that disk drive will become obsolete because it requires online connection to be used anyways, which is such a stupid thing in my opinion. This console promises to be able to play games at a high graphics setting at 120 FPS, and I'll tell you why that's not actually as good of a thing that most people will think it would be. It's actually not going to do much better than you think it is. Here's why. It's going to be relying on AI driven upscaling, and what that does is anybody who's played PC already knows that that's not anything new. NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR 2.0 already exist, and what that does, it outputs a native resolution that's actually lower than what is actually being output. So what do I mean by this? Let's say you want to play a game at 1440p, but you want to play it in high settings and 120 FPS on PC. What you would do in that case is see if that game has NVIDIA DLSS or AMD's FSR 2.0 and enable it. And what that does is it's going to let you play at a lower resolution, being like 1080p. The game is going to natively output a 1080p resolution, but use AI upscaling to make it look like it's actually at 1440p to allow you to run a game at 120 FPS in high graphics setting. And the reason I don't really like this or consider this a real leap in performance for technologies is because it's basically tricking your eyes into thinking you're running at this resolution, a high resolution like 1440p or 4K, when in reality you're actually natively running the game at a much lower resolution and using AI to trick your eyes into thinking that it's running at a higher one. And the thing is, with 120 FPS, when people hear that, I would love to be able to play Halo Infinite at high settings, all the way max settings at 120 FPS with no stuttering, but that's just not possible even with the RTX 3060, because you would need an RTX 4090, and that thing is like $800 or $1,000. The reality is that unless you're willing to drop thousands of dollars on the GPU that's really good, you're not going to be able to play every game that comes out brand new at 120 FPS at high max settings at 4K. It's just not going to happen. That is, do you even understand how much power that needs, or how much power that's demanding? So the PS5 is claiming that it's going to be able to play at max settings at 120 FPS at 4K is just not going to be the case. It's really not. And it's only going to be a few select games that actually allow this to even be the case, because most brand new games that come out for consoles are usually capped at 60 for a reason, because that's a stable FPS that the game can actually perform at. What this console essentially does is it actually uses AI to output a much lower resolution. Instead of 4K, it'll probably be at 1440p, which is 2K if you don't understand what that number means. It will instead output a resolution natively of 1440p and then use AI to upscale it to 4K to make you think that the game is running at 4K 120 FPS, when in reality it's running at half the resolution at 120 FPS, which makes more sense because that's half the power that the GPU is going to be using to actually natively run the graphic settings. And that's why I think that 120 FPS is overrated as of right now, because unfortunately not every game allows it and not every game can use it, at least at a stable point. And the only workaround to it is, like I said, PC gamers have been using it for years now. NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR, which is just downscaling the resolution and upscaling it using AI. And then again, the PS5 Pro, I feel like the only time you should ever even consider getting a console like this is if you don't already have a PS5. But even then, I would recommend you get an actual PS5, the regular one, the first one that ever came out, because at least that console still runs at 4K at 60 FPS at high max graphic settings. Like that's amazing. That's actually cool. That is a good deal. For $500, you can run all the games at 4K 60 FPS at max settings, and you'll have a disk drive that you can play physical games on, and that one won't become obsolete once the servers eventually do go down in the future. That to me is a much better deal for your money than this PS5 Pro console, because this shit is garbage and it's just not doing anything new. PC players who are looking at this right now are thinking to themselves that this is nothing new. They've already been using stuff like this for years now. That technology, that AI upscaling technology, they've been using it for years. They've been playing at a higher FPS, and even they know brand new games coming out will not be able to run at 4K or 120 FPS natively. That's just not possible. Like I said, the only reason they're gonna be able to run most brand new games at 120 FPS brand new is because they're gonna use AI upscaling to cut the resolution in half and output a upscaled resolution in order to trick you into thinking that you're playing 4K. And they're not hiding this. It's not like they're hiding this or anything. I'm not saying that they can't use AI. You know, if you want to use the AI to upscale your games, that's fine. I mean, I do it too in order to achieve higher FPS. But to me, that's not a huge leap in graphical technology. You know, that's not a huge leap in bounds to technology to me, because what that's doing is they're using AI to mimic a higher resolution rather than actually focusing on developing technologies that are capable of running 120 FPS at a native 4K resolution. That to me would be way more impressive than using AI to upscale a resolution, in my opinion. My advice, if you don't have a PS5 yet or any Xbox, first of all, don't get an Xbox, and two, just get the regular PS5. Don't go for a Pro. Even if you've never had a PS5 before, just don't go for the Pro unless you really care about 120 FPS and you don't mind the idea of using AI technologies to upscale your resolution, then that's fine. And also, I guess if you're also fine with buying a separate disk drive, but like I said, in my advice, just get a regular PS5. You'll get more value out of money for it. You get a disk drive that comes installed onto it. You can play all your games at 4K, 60 FPS out of the box. You'll have a much better time with that console. Yeah, I just wanted to really talk about this and show that everything they're doing is not anything new and has been around for a while now. It's just they're doing it in a much dumber way, in my opinion. Because, dude, the disk drive to me is just the one thing I can't get behind. I don't understand why it doesn't just come with a disk drive. Like, they can't just install it. Like, I don't understand. That's the whole point of a console, is to have the disk drive with it. Damn, this shit is stupid. All right, that's all. That's all for now. See ya. Subscribe, bozo.